this will probably be the last one for this session, but I was talking yesterday to someone who's farther left than me on the redistribution stuff, and they gave what I think is a totally unique argument in favor of some level of support for minimum wage increases, right? The super quick context before we get into the novel argument is that as a good capitalist, what you say is that there's a problem of everyone having like a certain level of dignity and everyone having a certain level of human rights, and we want to make sure everyone has a decent lifestyle. And the solution to that problem is we take a progressive taxation in order to ensure that everyone has food and hospitals and roads and access to education and all this stuff, right? So we have a solution already to the distribution problem. Minimum wage increases offer the same solution, a solution to the same problem, but it's a worse solution, because when we do progressive taxation, we take a bunch of money from Jeff Bezos and then some money from other people, but progressive taxation is going to target the wealthier people more, and it's going to target their top dollar, so the money they would use to buy video games and paint their yacht. But when we do minimum wage increases, we're taking not the same amount of money, imagine, but we're disproportionately going to be taking from bodega owners and small business owners who need to hire college kids and ice cream shops. So we'd rather just use the solution that works, avoid touching market dynamics, avoid touching labor and business, and let them run an efficient market. And then we can also solve the problem using redistribution. Okay, so what is the novel argument for why we can help minimum wage people? And I phrase that specifically because it's not just raising minimum wage, but it'll have that effect. Is like the situation for them is that in other career fields with very specific skills, there might be, for minimum wage workers, every older person or college person or, whatever person, there's going to be millions of, lowish skill minimum wage workers, right? Like it's generally jobs that anyone can pick up and do. So there's a coordination problem. They can't coordinate and unionize. While, let's say, graphic artists who've spent 4 years in SVA and are able to do computer graphics, it's like, okay, there's only going to be like tens of thousands of these people, which is like two orders of magnitude less than a million. So coordinating them, getting them all into a union is going to be really easy. And then there's other reasons that coordination problem exists, right? Like it's also worth noting that minimum wage workers are not going to have as much time to organize and are probably not going to be as competent at it than super high skill workers in other areas. So like, what is the idea here? Is like there is a difference in the leverage that they have to negotiate their salaries because they're unable to unionize. And now here's the hard question. This is the hard question for the capitalist dog that I am. Okay, is forget other externalities, like just in a vacuum. If you could snap your fingers and solve this coordination problem, which would allow them to unionize, which would result in a minimum wage increase in effect, is that something you would do, right? And it would. So what are the effects of this? Is that it would be good for those workers. It would have a negative impact on society. That's probably true of all unions. Is that obviously it's good. The unions are good exactly for the workers that they represent. That's who they benefit. But they reduce the amount of stuff that gets done. So the question is like, if you wouldn't, then would you do the opposite? It's like a utilitarian dilemma. If you think that it's better for society that the minimum wage is lower, would you snap your fingers and prevent them? Let's say the next day, you're in the hypothetical room and the scientist is like, oh, I found this new phone device and it's a perfect communication device and it'll guaranteed solve this coordination problem. Would you say like, push the button, like, no, let's not release that. Let's not, it's a new app. It's like the minimum wage worker union app. Okay. It's guaranteed to work. Would you push a button and be like, let's not do that. Right. And then the interesting thing about this is that if you say, yes, I'll push that button, then you're kind of forced into a stance that's just like completely anti all unions, like because if you say that to that union, then you would say yes to dissolving every union. So the two options that I came up with, I haven't resolved this yet, is you can either say like, yeah, I am against all unions, like people can freely associate, but if we can add some friction there, or like that seems so bad. It seems like it's a really hard bullet to bite, right? That's option number one. Option number two is you have to say, okay, I have to think about that more, because it's a hard one. And that's where I'm at right now. I'm thinking about it more, but it's cool that it got raised. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I think that's my thoughts on it. We'll do a follow-up if I resolve this one, okay? Or if you guys have ideas, leave them in the comments below. Don't forget to like.